There's a tribe, a huge tribe. We're here with the lovely Maiden, with all those here who represent her, the feminine, the beautiful feminine. And we're here with Crystal Chadwick on Welcome to Channeling. Intergalactic beings of multi-dimensional realities. Welcome to Channeling. Crystal Chadwick, I am so pleased to welcome you to Channeling today. Welcome, welcome. First, I'm just going to introduce you really quickly, but also before we do that, I'm going to reach across. We've already kind of spread an opening miles wide. We got to do that in order to be able to connect here with all the technology that's happening on. But I'm wanting to reach forward and feel myself connect to you and your beautiful guides, which are so sweet and lovely. I can feel them. And I'm inviting in a beautiful synergy of what we're going to share with people today about relationships, about the feminine, about how we can walk proudly, how we can walk in strength and own our choices in our lives. So I'm so happy to be here with you. Crystal, actually, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit about what you do, the variety of what you do, and then we can jump in on some fun today.
Okay, cool. And I just want to say too, that was like the coolest intro I've ever seen. So that was really neat.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you for having me, and I'm really glad to be here also. So the work that I do, we can hone on specifically, or, it can get kind of broad. So I'll try to condense it. I'm essentially a holistic health coach, and shamanic practitioner, but I originally started as a holistic health coach, but what I found, especially with everybody, but especially with women, is that a lot of our health issues, especially if they're chronic health issues, or people are really struggling to release weight after a long period of time, or just having the same health issues over and over again. Essentially, you can't address your health without addressing love and relationships as well, because the two go hand in hand. And that's kind of been the core of my work recently. And I've always had a fascination with love and relationships. I just didn't own it for a long time. I kind of work the two and two together, because basically, if you have unhealthy relationships in your life, love and romantic especially are at the forefront, because as adults, that's just a big focus of our lives. But I work with, family relationships, colleagues, anything like that. And parenting also with your children. But a big part of it is with romantic relationships, because if there's a lot of unhealthy patterns or attachment issues or things like that, trauma, anything like that going on, it creates so much stress in the body and the energetic fields and systems. And so no matter how many, vegetables you eat, no matter how much supplements you take, you're not going to get good sleep. There's just nothing that you can really do for your health if you don't address your relationships. So I like them to combine together.
Yeah, combine them together. And I know you're trained in shamanism. You are a very creative person too. You've got your design business and all of that going on. When you just mentioned, though, attachment, this is a really interesting subject, because the way I've really come to work with attachment a lot is through what's called attachment disorder, where, and these are people that are born, oftentimes they're put into perhaps orphanages or things like that, or they don't create that strong bond that helps them feel secure in the world, like they have a foundation. Yeah, when I think about relationships, the word attachment doesn't come up all the time for me. And so it's interesting to hear that word attachment, because that is a big player in our energy and
Mm-hmm.
what it is focused on, what it's intended on, and what we're concentrating on. So our intent and our focus and our energy, if we're connected in with people and there's an issue with that connection, or a super dependency or something like this that hasn't been resolved, I can see how that can really cause problems in our energetic systems, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're trying to manage them, and we're having these heavy attachments that need to be addressed, oftentimes we probably can feel like what we're trying to do doesn't bring about much resolve. There isn't a lot of change until that
Mm-hmm.
happens. So,
Yeah, and you just mentioned like the orphanages and things like that, and that's like such a I can't even think of the word strong example, but you think so many times too, like us women when we go through pregnancy and things like that, we'll have like there's a lot of postpartum depression. There's a lot of things that happen that, especially in I think the Western culture, aren't addressed as much. It's like, oh, you're fine, just you know, go along your days and work. And there's not a lot of support around, I think, moms who've just given birth. And yeah, so a lot of times, even if they have, their original parents, both set of parents in the home, there can still be like a disconnect and not that secure attachment created, even if they live with their parents, even if the parents are showing up and meeting the physical needs or things like that. A lot of times there isn't always that secure connection created. Or, for example, like with me, with my daughter, you know, I've always been very like present, trying to do my best, but we had a lot of trauma in my past marriage with her father and when she was young growing up. And so me and her had to work really hard through her upbringings in her older years a little bit to try to reestablish that connection, because we didn't establish that connection when she was little based on the trauma and the abuse that was going on in our household. So there's all kinds of different scenarios. It's actually surprising how a lot of people have attachment issues, even when they maybe came from a decent home or things like that.
that makes so much sense. Even now, I I think there was a kind of a unique situation with me. I was born as a twin, and my
Mm,
mom always used to say she was really frustrated because it was like she kind of didn't matter in a way. Like our twin was more important than she was in a sense.
mm,
And I've always had a different kind of, I don't know, unique attachment to the idea of being a mother and different things. And when I became a mother and I had 4 kids, the kind of intimacy that was there was kind of scary for me. I didn't realize the kind of intimacy that could be there. And
because you didn't have that with your mom.
yeah, because I hadn't
Yeah.
had that with my mom, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so strange. Is it supposed to be this intimate?" You know?
Hmm.
And it was a new world for me, and it's now, as I think about it, it's helped me realize how really kind of there was this essence of disconnect and lack of support
Hmm.
and knowing or
Hmm.
feeling like it was truly there.
Hmm.
Because it was almost like there was the adults were way out of the picture a lot of the times.
Hmm. Yep.
Only until, like my dad, when we were little, he started like teaching the oldest of us to sing and stuff like that. So that was the only time really, either that or going to church together, where there was this bond that was really formed between us.
Hmm.
And so even not even at meal times was that, occurring. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to make note of that, and for me to suddenly say, oh my gosh, I do have an attachment issue. And it shows up too in how I relate to my kids, because I always
Hmm.
told my kids when they were born, like, you better treat your siblings really well, because that's who you're going to have.
Hmm.
That's what I told them. I literally told them that.
Because that was your experience with your sister, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's interesting how we form attachments and how we see what kind of relationships, how they should work,
Hmm.
how we think they work. But, was that really how they were supposed to, is that how they
Hmm.
have to work? Was it just something that was kind of entrained, or because of circumstances, that's how we kind of opened up to them,
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the generational trauma comes in, because you look at like, our parents and why did they show up and do things like this? And often I find that, because we all have issues with our parents, our kids are going to have issues with us, we have issues with ours. And, but you look even at your parents and they probably did a better job than their parents as far as, in the healing sense, not that their parents did a bad job, but I think like if you go back previous generations, there was just a lot of survival going on. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I mean. They do better as far as like with the emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a long time, like I view, for example, healing as a privilege, because even though it's hard work to, be the people to do the healing for your family line and all of that, it's also a privilege because we can't actually start to do the real work in healing unless we feel safe. And a lot of the previous generations, they were in survival all the time. They had to just put food on the table and pay the bills. And so they weren't in touch with their feelings. And so, and, having that emotional attachment with their children or even the marriage or whatever. And so,
Yeah.
um, so it just kind of gets passed on in that way.
I love that you're looking at this in a way of honoring who came before, because really each generation, a new opportunity comes through each generation, and they
Hmm.
do their best. And for my mom's parents, she her temperament type is unique. I don't know if you're familiar with Myers-Briggs temperament typing.
Hmm.
She was irrational, but she had two guardian parents who were very much all about what they looked like. And, to them, their privilege was that they had a good home, that they had nice things to wear, and those kinds of things. And my grandma, who, even though we look at it nowadays, her husband kind of was abusive to her. She was in a privileged situation where she was a teacher and she brought home her paycheck and she got to spend it on whatever she wanted. Like,
Mm.
this was unheard of before, right?
Yeah.
All of that would be gone to, things that people just desperately needed to help take care of themselves. So it
Hmm.
is interesting, in that space, some of that healing was surrounding them having the material things that they needed, probably. And then
Hmm.
from there, we get to take another step and continue on to kind of reclaim ourselves in more of our wholeness and more of our sovereignty, I think. And I think that's the
Hmm.
journey I think that's happening in the world right now. That's what I'm excited about, is people
Yep.
coming to find that within themselves. And as they take those steps, we're seeing it happen. So
Yeah.
wonderful. So I'm excited to hear more about you and how you approach you working in relationships with women and with couples, I guess you could say. Is it surrounding really this attachment a lot of the time, or do you step in new ways, like, somatically, or how they interact with each other? How do you work with them?
Um, Pretty much it's unique for every situation. I do a lot of different types of work, so I don't just do attachment stuff. That's a lot of it for sure, but I can help with the dating stuff, intimacy, sex life, communication styles. But a big part of why I decided to do the shamanic practitioner work also and add that in is kind of felt like the final missing piece for me is I love to include that as part of it. So, a lot of what I found dating relationship coaches, they focus a lot on just how to get the guy, show up dating this way. I can help manifest the man, all of those things. But I think manifesting the person that you want is just the beginning. It's just part of it. I think all of our trauma and behavior patterns and things when we're in relationship, I feel like it's like a perfect mirror. I feel like parenting is the same thing. Parenting and romantic relationships, I find, are the two like strongest mirrors. they're not for the faint of heart, especially parenting, as we just talked about too. It forces you to look at your own stuff. But I feel like romantic relationships do that too. They're a mirror. And so no matter how much healing you've done on your own, and you might think, okay, I'm great. I'm ready to have a relationship with somebody because I've done all this healing. I feel healthy and safe and good. But no matter how much work you do on yourself, when you know, are on the path of growth and working on yourself, then you will naturally find a partner who is a good mirror for you. And it's going to trigger you. It's going to trigger all of your past relationship issues, childhood traumas, all of that stuff. And so if you don't address and work on those things, which is different for everybody, so, you know, it depends on what each person's working with, but they will continue to show up. And sometimes people think, oh, just leave this relationship because this isn't working. I'll just find somebody else. But if you do that enough times, you'll start to see the same similar patterns will keep happening. So I help people choose like relationship from a place of choice, but also let's put the focus on ourselves and work on the things we need to with us. And I feel like your partner will naturally either grow and come closer with you, or they will naturally start falling away. And yeah, so, but the shamanism stuff, like what I really love with that is I do a lot of my favorite thing in the world is soul retrievals. So when basically a trauma happens in your life, big, small, whatever, basically, essentially the concept is pieces of your soul will leave your body and leave you. And that ties into the attachment piece also, because if we're not whole in ourselves, basically having enough of our soul pieces with us, we're basically an open vessel creates a space for codependency. We create energetic attachments to other people because we don't have enough of ourselves in ourselves. And so I think that's where the codependency comes in. So I approach it from a two-pronged way of, you know, I can teach like the practical, logistical ways to deal with these relating dynamics, but I also like to go a step further and do like energetic extractions and bring back those soul pieces at the same time. So it's a holistic approach.
I love that, and I love how you described really about, you know, these soul retrieval, and really there are different aspects of us that we reject or kind of in shock or in trauma become released or loosed from us, and we don't have access to them. And I can greatly kind of say, yay, verily, yay, this is true. As I've done, you know, my personal shadow work and other things, it's amazing to feel more intelligence come into my system, right? It's like, where have you been all this time? I've needed you.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And it's so amazing to feel that happening. And that's one reason why I love channeling so much is I've been able to, through channeling, been able to do some of that work, which has been interesting because you don't think channeling would be doing that. But my whole idea surrounding channeling was really me claiming, opening up to my larger sense of self and all that I am. And so as you do that, you start to claim different aspects that were probably set aside or, you know, by the wayside, and claim them and claim what is of value to you. And let whatever else gets to go.
Yep, exactly. And that's kind of why it's the two prong, you know, there's the extraction piece of, yeah, exactly, letting whatever needs to go. And then you therefore create the space to bring back those actual natural essence pieces of yourself back. And yeah, anyway, I could go on about it
I love
forever,
that.
but
I love that. I'm feeling a nudge right now and my guides are like, let's talk about this some more. They actually want to jump in, and I'm asking who's here. And this is so fun. Crystal, this is all new to Crystal. So we're just jumping in here, and I'm going to reach in to see who's wanting to talk right now. It's the guides in the garden. They're wanting to speak about this. So we're just going to see what they say really quick. Okay.
okay, cool.
And I may close my eyes just because that makes it easier and I'm not distracted. But
Okay.
yes, we are here, Gwen. We are here with you and this crystal. Both of you are doing a lovely job speaking of this idea of attachment and also speaking of this, what is called soul loss. Many of you may have come onto this earth even feeling like a part of you was missing. And of course, a part of this is a witness of your soul that you are much greater than you are or what you experience yourself to be upon this earth. But also, we would say that through the many experiences that you have had, you, once again, have lost certain aspects of yourself, for they were not allowed to be expressed for your survival. This is a basic way you may look at this thought or this idea of soul retrieval. You being able to access certain aspects of yourself that are waiting to simply be of benefit to you, simply for you to own their voice. You, Gwen, have had experience with what is called the big mind process, where you go through and you speak to different aspects of yourself, including the different dimensional aspects, the non dual framework and mindset. Yes, we say mindset because it basically is a field of expression that you may enter into and become aware of yourself within. And so there are many ways that one may experience this kind of soul retrieval experience. But as we speak, Crystal does know certain techniques which she has become skilled with. And we would love for you two to talk about some of these techniques and how they have blessed her and the blessings she has seen in her patients and her clients that have worked with her. And so this we simply are saying to encourage you to continue speaking about this topic. This we say, and we leave this with you, and we'll come back and we'll speak more again. Okay, so there we go.
Cool. That was really cool.
So yeah, they would like to us to talk more about how you go through that process. And this may be really beneficial for someone who is wondering what this looks like and feels like, and it may, have them trust and open up to having some kind of experience like this.
Well, I told you I could talk about this all day, so I guess we're supposed to. Um, so yeah, I'm fascinated with this work. In fact, I feel like this piece in particular is a huge part of my soul purpose in this life. I could talk about it all day, so we will. I have to like condense it because my mind starts going crazy. So, yeah, so I agree, kind of like what you're just saying, that there are different ways to do soul retrieval. I specifically have learned a way through the shamanic practitioner training, which is one of my favorite ways because I feel like it's very quick and efficient. And its purpose, not purposely, specifically helped me several times, which is actually how I got on the shamanic practitioner path. Was several years ago. I've had a lot of trauma, significant trauma in my life. A lot of domestic violence when I was younger, some really bad abuse. But I had done a lot of healing on that. It had taken me a long time. But then I was date raped twice. Once, I think 6 years ago, and another year after that, 5 years ago. And so finally, when these things had happened to me, I had done enough work on myself for the better part of a decade. And so I could recognize really strongly in myself that at that time, something was wrong with me. And I just was like, I'm not myself, something's wrong. And I had quite a few tools at this time to work with, and nothing was working. And I was pretty in tune with myself. And I was like, something's wrong with me. I'm not myself. And so I reached out to a friend, and she sent me to a lady who was a womb shaman. And I had a little bit of experiences with shamans a couple times before, but anyway, I went to this lady and I had one session with her, and I swear I was just, she did some extraction and soul retrieval work on me in one session. And I swear I was like back to myself. I had this energy back to me, the vibrance. I was like, I feel like myself again. I could not describe it. And I thought, how on earth did stuff that took me years and years of therapy and other work that I had done in the past happen like this? And I was just shocked. And and then it just sent me down the path. She actually told me, she's like, you're a shaman and you're supposed to do this work too. And I was like, what? I don't know. I'm like, I didn't know that. I don't know what that means. And so, it just kind of started me on the shamanic path, which I think actually had started before, but consciously started me on that path. But so I guess before I get into that, though, there are different types of soul retrievals you can do as well. For example, I think sometimes just like for me, as another example, when I was a teenager, before I had met my ex-husband, before the serious abuse had started in my life, I think back to like these couple years in my late teens where I was just thriving on all levels, relationships, health, and school, with work, like my finances were good. Like I was really advanced for my age at that time, but my friends, everything, I was just really happy, fulfilled in life. I was reaching for my goals. I was just as good as I could have been. And so I think one way of doing a soul retrieval is you look back to like pieces like that before, these soul pieces have left because of trauma. And you can even just start doing like activities that you used to do back then. For example, like, what types of hobbies was I into? What was my structure in my day like? How did I feed myself and work out back then? I think a lot of people, you can do this too with even like childhood stuff. Like, what did I love to do as a child? I love to dance. I love to create and make art. And that was a piece that as I was an adult, I thought, oh, I can't do that anymore. I have to work and have fun. I mean, not have fun. I can't have fun. I have to work and no fun and be serious and responsible. And especially as a solo parent. And that's a way you can reclaim pieces of yourself too. It's like, what did I enjoy as a child? I love to bake and cook and do crafts with my mom, And so that's one way I feel you can bring soul pieces back, is just by literally starting to do the things you did at younger stages of your life. And that's how you can bring some of those things back, is by literally inviting them in through behaviors. So that's a big thing that I've done a lot. But the really cool favorite shamanic soul retrieval work, that's something you can't really do for yourself. You kind of have to do it with a practitioner. But essentially they journey and they go and find the lost pieces of your soul. And they bring it back into the body, integrate it into the body. And there's some integration work after and stuff like that. But that's my favorite part, but just because it just is so magical, and it seems a little crazy and out there, but unless you actually experience it for yourself, I mean, it sounds nuts, really. But no, it's hard to describe, but it's very real.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you're expressing, and this kind of idea of journey is something that I do all the time. It's just like, it's just really, maybe it's first nature.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if we can sit here, my guides are chuckling at me. They're saying, yes, Gwen. And they're like, okay, so I'm just wanting to sit here and imagine. We're going to sit here and imagine, because imagination, when we're opening our imagination, this is a way that we can enter into what is experienced as a journey. And if we just simply imagine ourselves sitting and taking 3 deep breaths and being in a beautiful garden, and there's some luscious trees and flowers and everything around us, then as we enter into this garden, we can take a look about us and see what it feels like. Is it a bright summer day? Is it dark? Is it misty? And whatever is here is declaring or expressing something to us. Whatever the foliage is, what do the trees look like? What is calling to you? What are you interested in or drawn to? So this is a natural way that we enter into vision, and we start getting drawn to certain aspects that are ready to be brought back to ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we enter in that way, and you're very skilled, you know specifically things that you'll be looking for, or you'll ask people to look for something, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is how you can, this is a way to kind of demystify what's happening here,
Mm-hmm.
because our
Yeah.
soul itself wants to come back into itself. In a way, even though we're doing a soul retrieval, we cannot lose ourselves. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
there's always this wholeness, there's always something in us that can will recognize a part of ourselves, you know?
Yeah, and I think like kind of what you're just were saying too, it made me think, of the important part of a soul piece can't come back until you're ready for it. For example, like if I try to do soul retrieval and bring back pieces for somebody and, try to bring them back, if they're not ready for them, they can just send them back away again. So you as a person have to be even just the intention of, okay, I'm ready to reclaim these lost pieces. I think that's a huge part of the process anyways. You'll know when you're ready, different levels of healing, you'll be ready for certain different pieces back. But you have to be open to it. And so you have to kind of feel open and ready. And I think if you create like a safe space, because as you were saying in your channeling, it was really spot on. I loved it actually. It was basically like, yeah, because of the survival instinct, basically, like the body is not safe for those soul pieces to be anymore, so they leave. But they're not lost forever. It's not like you said, they're not gone. They just can't be in the body because the body wasn't safe, for survival reasons. And so if you can just try to create some safety and openness in your body and your just awareness,
Mm-hmm.
then those pieces can feel okay to come back.
Yeah, and I love
And
that.
I
This
think that's a
ties,
big part of it.
yeah, this ties right back to what you were saying about people being able to feel safe enough for them to do this work. And I love, my guides talk to me a lot about creating a little safe space for yourself. Sometimes we live in a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
chaotic world. Maybe we are at a work situation that isn't the best or something else, but as we work on at least providing, they call it a kernel of space for yourself. Just a little area that you can truly be yourself. Maybe it's a space where you meditate. Maybe it's the garden, maybe it's the park where, you can go and sit and relax, whatever it is, finding that space where your energy, you can really truly come into your creative knowingness, and be in that and
Mm-hmm.
say, what do I want to bring into the world, and invite yourself back into yourself. That this is an
Mm-hmm.
important way that we can do that. But there's something else that's jumping out of me. What was it? I'm like excited. I'm like, we need to do something here. Um, my mind just went blank. They're saying,
Shoot.
ha, 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 ha. My guides are really taking kind of the forefront in this on this interview. It's really interesting. They're really excited, and oh, they want to talk about. People are going to think I'm crazy. This is so funny. I'm just talking through my guides as much as I can. They want to talk about attachment and how that works, because what you
Okay.
described was really important. Um, this idea of attachment and healthy attachment for people can look really quite beautiful. I mean, it can be very dynamic, because at one moment people can be look like they're fawning and they're looking in each other's eyes and they're really loving each other, but the next moment they can be telling each other, "No, I don't like that. Can we do something different?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
it's not a threat to the relationship. And so, how do we get to this point where we can know? A lot of us people have an idea of love and how it should look like. And this idea of them saying, oh, if someone gets angry, then that's not love. I can't, I'm going to push that away. Or love doesn't look like this, which would challenge me. Like, what do you think about that? How do you view that?
Again, I could go. My mind starts going on a million different rabbit holes. So I got to try to focus and condense. Yeah, I just love these topics. So, kind of what's come to my mind a little bit is maybe a way to simplify it and describe it is, we have codependency, and then we have independence, and then we have interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
And so codependency is where we don't have a lot of our soul pieces back. We don't have a lot of we don't feel whole inside, and the other person doesn't as well. And so you attach, two pieces together to kind of create one whole. Essentially, it's not exact, but you know what I mean. You just both kind of attach onto pieces of each other, and that's the unhealthy, it's just unhealthy because those are the patterns that can be abusive or just unhealthy because you can't have those boundaries, basically.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I don't like this without the relationship being threatened, or you don't feel safe to bring up those issues because they might leave or manipulate or control or all these unhealthy dynamics. Then you have the independence where, okay, yeah, you're getting some pieces of yourself back. Okay, I don't have to have another person to be happy in my life. Doing pretty good on my own, all of these things. But what I find is a lot of people get stuck there, especially a lot of women will get stuck there because it's like I don't need a man. I had all these relationships that hurt me, so I'm never going to do that again, never going to let that happen. And so this is a great place to be. And I think we don't want to skip from codependency to interdependency. We want to have some healthy independence in there for a little while, because that's really important to get to the next step of the interdependence where we can both be, and we're never 100% healed. We never have 100% of our soul pieces back, but where you have enough of them here, because relationships are never perfect. We're never fully healed on our own, but enough to where, we can be, like you just said, all lovey-dovey and, oh, I'm just so in love and happy. But then if somebody does something to you, you can also say, hey, because you have enough of the backbone from that independence piece where you can say, hey, that didn't feel good to me. Or, when you act this way, this hurts my feelings or makes me feel like this. And, that person has to do the work on themselves also it takes two to tango. And so that's kind of like what I was saying too, is I do the work really with the women to work on themselves because we can't control the other person. We don't know what they're going to do. But what you'll naturally find is the more work you do on yourself and you stand up for yourself and learn to communicate what your needs from a good place and all of that, either if that person is meant to align and grow with you, they will start naturally, doing their work too. Yeah. And if they're not meant to be with you, they will just start falling away. And then eventually you'll create the space to find another partner who will.
I love what you're saying because I feel like I have a perfect example of what I've experienced recently, and it's been actually really cool for me to experience it because my guides have really, it's so funny right now. I want to almost talk about Gwen in third person because my guides are so excited to share. We've suggested Gwen to do this, and when she did, but they've really directed me in, through, after, and during my healing, directed me into really focusing on my love for myself, and my respect for myself. And basically they said, walk out into the public and feel the energy of this respect and love for yourself. And when you do that, every man that you meet will know how they should treat you. They will know how they get to treat you because you will be showing them the example of how you get to be treated.
Yep.
Right? And I started doing that, and the moment I started doing that, there was a switch in the relationship that I'm in.
And suddenly, a lot of it's energetic. A lot of times, I mean, it's not like you can't expect everybody to be mind readers and never communicate our needs. But we don't have to communicate, verbally and things as much as we think. There's so much energetic stuff going on. And if you focus on that first, it makes everything else easier.
Yeah. And just me being even in the presence of this person that I've gotten closer to, just me even in the presence, I noticed, like, whereas before there was more of a tendency to be wondering, oh, how is he doing? What I was simply holding myself in a certain space, and he came to me, right? And it was just this really cool feeling and sensation. I was like, wow. Suddenly it makes sense. It was really, really beautiful. All of these years of me working on it, of course, I had great ideas of, feelings and love for myself, but it was almost this energetic presence and me holding myself in this way that suddenly it clicked. And there's been a huge dramatic
Mm-hmm.
shift. And of course, I'm like, okay, guides, I'm really appreciative of their suggestions and, the little nudges that they give to me, because they're showing me that let's see, oftentimes what we do is we don't give a chance, that we don't give the people the chance to simply watch us go through our own healing process. And sometimes that's they want to be there and just offer you a hand and say, you're doing awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually a beautiful, beautiful thing. Whereas before, maybe we thought they had to play a different role, like, oh, they had to ease my feeling by telling me something this way, or saying it was okay in that way, or saying someone else was wrong. No, to me, like, the depth of the love that I want, the depth of the honoring I want, is them saying, oh, I see how strong you're being right now. You're being willing to be with the emotion and heal this right now. And I can just be with you. And they don't have to take on any burden of it for themselves, because
Mm-hmm.
it isn't their burden. It isn't their burden.
Yep.
Other than their loving nature, as they're saying, way to go, in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, they can still honor you and show up and support. And
Yeah.
sometimes the way they can do that too is maybe tweaking a behavior or
Yeah.
something like that. But
Yeah.
I think what you're saying too is like taking full ownership and responsibility for ourselves. For example, too, like two phrases just came to me as you were describing that. The first one is I've heard the phrase, put the focus on yourself until, or put the focus on you until the focus is on you. So basically, like a lot of women have anxious attachment, men do too. I've had anxious before. I've also been an avoidant attachment style before too. I think depending on where you're at in your journey, it
Mm-hmm.
can fluctuate. But if you have the anxious attachment, it's almost like you're energetically chasing the man. And even if you're not doing the actions of chasing them, but you energetically are, and they can feel it and they'll kind of pull away. So, and they might not even know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's just subconsciously, energetically going on. And so if you just take the focus off of them, put the focus on you until the focus becomes on you. And so, kind of like what you were saying, you were focusing on you, just honoring yourself, loving being with yourself. And then all of a sudden, his energy just came right back onto you
Yeah.
as well. And then the other thing I was thinking too was what you were saying, oh, about like, doing the healing kind of for yourself, and they can be a witness to that. There's another phrase that I heard of with a coach I worked with several years ago, and she was so great. She called it, especially for women, because we're really emotional creatures. And that was something that I had shut down for a long time. And part of my healing work was opening up to, like, I had so many emotions. I'm a very, very sensitive person, but I was grown up learning that wasn't okay. So a big part of my healing was, okay, let's allow myself to feel the intensity of all the emotions I feel, but they are very intense. So then the next step was how to manage those emotions still and not dump them on someone else, because that's what I found myself doing. Is I was like, oh, I just have all these emotions, so I'm just going to throw them up on you. And that can really scare them because it's too much. We're dumping. And so
Yeah.
what this coach was saying is, like, it's one thing to have emotions, it's another to be emotional. And so, yeah, how can we still allow ourselves to feel and express and process our emotions without dumping and putting them on someone else to fix? We can still share them with them, but we shouldn't give them the responsibility to, like, fix
Yeah.
what we're feeling.
Yeah. I think that's a whole part of kind of a maturing process that we all go through, figuring out how we can best do that,
Mm-hmm.
honoring that it is our world that we're creating, and these
Mm-hmm.
emotions are running through our world. And even if someone else is connected to that world, it's really up to us to manage what's going on in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and they can't receive us too the same way if we're just coming at them so intensely or so chaotic, or can't stop crying or yelling or whatever is going on. They're not going to receive what we're trying, the message we're actually trying to portray. they're just, getting bombarded. But if we can manage our emotions first and then communicate from a place of being managed, then they can actually receive and hear what we're trying to say. And then maybe some changes and the dynamic can be made. But
Yeah.
it doesn't accomplish anything if we're just totally letting our emotions run the show.
Yeah. I
That's a big learning lesson for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think this is a part of our kind of education and maturation process,
Hmm.
because yeah, like you said, I love what you described. We get to own that we do have these emotions that want to be expressed, but we also get to choose how that's done and in what environment
Hmm.
and how much we get to share. And I used to be offended at the thought that, I want to be in an environment where I can express whatever I want, that kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and and there's a certain beauty about that, but there's a certain immaturity about it too,
Hmm.
And so
Yep.
so there's a part of us that we get to say, learning these skills of managing, saying, yes, this emotion is running through me, but it's not me and it doesn't own me. But
Yes.
I can honor it. I can honor and listen to it and listen to what's going on, what am I fearing, what am I afraid
Yeah.
of?
What's the deeper truth
Yeah.
here? I think that's a big lesson I learned too, is like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, but what's the deeper truth underneath?
Yeah.
And then if we try to make sure we identify that and then communicate that versus all the other stuff that's
Yeah.
kind of shrouding it, and then the message gets lost in all of that.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful what you're talking about. I think too when we get caught up in these emotionalities, I call it emotionality, um, that sometimes really we're just playing out these stories and ideas that were programmed
Hmm.
into us. And even though, yes, there's some truth in it, like you said, there's a deeper truth that we can find and we can lean on and we can understand why we're being triggered and what's happening with ourselves, and we can learn how to comfort ourselves, and we can learn how
Hmm.
to bring ourselves open to maybe a bigger truth, and we can do all these kinds of things, but
Hmm.
this is like a lifetime of learning,
Yeah. Yep.
what we're doing, what we're talking about here is so sweet. But as we walk through this experience and we bring back our wholeness to ourselves, this is what I call it, there's this idea that's coming forward, and my guides are really on me saying we get to honor what a truly whole, beautiful maiden, they call him maiden, looks like, and what she brings to the tribe or the people. And I think this is important to see because there is so much beauty and so much benefit when we do bring ourselves into our wholeness, when we do acknowledge the innocence and the purity of our nature, and our
Hmm.
natures, and when we're able to act, in our wholeness and alive and vibrant. And for you, when you've seen people start to claim themselves again and really be themselves in a kind of in a way where they feel grounded, where they feel like they have a foundation, like what is that like for you? I mean, what do you see in them? What qualities start arising?
Hmm. Well, definitely a lot more vibrant, more kind of just excitement and energy kind of starts to go on. But I think a lot of more joy comes back. I think a lot of people, when you're trying to not like focus on the negative emotions, so you try to like shut those down, you also can't experience the happiness the same. So you don't, so I find them experiencing more joy, and things like that. But also, I think I start to see them living from a place of choice. For example, relationships, you're not in a real, the more ownership and wholeness you have in yourself, you don't have to be in a relationship because you're financially dependent on that person or you're emotionally dependent on them and you can't be happy alone or things like that. There can live from a place of choices. I choose to be in this relationship, not because I need this person, but because I want them. I want to experience life with them. Even career choices and things like that. I choose to do this from a place of choice. I'm not with this job or this career that I hate anymore because I'm dependent on it but I'm miserable there, So I just start to see a lot more choice,
Mm-hmm.
living from a place of choice.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then that ultimately feels like freedom. I think that's the end goal for me, is like freedom. And that's one of my like core values and essences is, I'm all for love and relationships, and I'm a hopeless romantic at heart, but one of my deep, deep core values is freedom. And I don't, for example, want love in a relationship if I don't feel free in that relationship too. And a lot of men say that. They say that's very common for men, but I think more that women actually tap into their true nature, and the more healing they do, I find that's actually very true for women as well.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I love hearing from you because this feels very personal, like, this expression to you and this healing journey. And I'm wanting to, it's so great. I'm feeling my guys wanting to jump in again and they're going to express again. So let's just do this.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Yes, Gwen, we are here and we are very present with this conversation with you and this crystal. We are so happy that you are speaking together, and we are partially here to encourage her in her journey and this feeling of freedom that she is speaking of. When we, as a collective, look into what is known as the tribe, the traditional indigenous of this planet, we use this as a way to teach Gwen often. And so, her in reviewing what a tribe looks like, what a healthy, cohesive tribe looks like, we see the maiden in the center. And you may ask, why is the maiden in the center? And this doesn't make sense. Isn't she off hiding and making the food and not in the exciting center of the whole village? But we say unto you, no, the maiden is the center of the village, for the maiden is supported by all. And as the people look after the maiden, the future of their tribe is guaranteed. Now, some of you may say, what? How could this be? How could the future of their tribe be guaranteed by the maiden? The maiden in her pure heart sings into the wind. The maiden with her pure heart sees the future and the way of expansion for the tribe. She sees the ways of increased intelligence. She sees into the new creative ideas of what is possible within the tribe, how new love may become strong within the tribe, the new possibilities. And because she is in a space where she is held by all, where all honor her, then this can happen. If the maiden is thus put in a situation where she is pressured to live in a certain way that does not help her, that does not give her access to this true insight, then the tribe itself does diminish in its ability to be adaptable and move forward in its consciousness. The feminine, the female, has a uniqueness about it, which ties love, its love for the people around it, with the idea of what the possibilities are in the future. And so when these possibilities come, they are tied to the heart of the people. They are not tied to a selfish, retrospective way that would separate people in the tribe. This is something that we would encourage people to see in the divine nature of the maiden, of the feminine as she comes unto her own. And we say to you that it is wise for you to treat the female in such awe and respect. And as you do so, her ideas, her vision will be caught in your eyes. We speak this to you men in a way, and all of you, even if you do not identify particularly as one sex or another. We're speaking of an energy, and an energy and how it benefits the whole. For each energy is of benefit to the whole. But if there are different parts which are sick, that are not supported, then the whole suffers. And the maiden is the one which sees into the whole easier than so many other eyes do, because her heart connects with anything she comes in contact with, and she is a blessing to all as she does so. So we encourage you, dear Crystal, as you are on your healing path, and Gwen, as you are on your healing path, to have a great sense of what you truly are and what you truly offer. You need not do so or have the sense in pride to push anyone away or say they are not worthy of you, but in order for you to own it, and then as you own it, others will see the gifts that you have to offer. Just as you, Crystal, you have seen into these opportunities and ways you may bring people together and thus increase healing on the planet. You are providing this through this energy, which is naturally a part of you. And so, same with you, Gwen. You have a vision of how you may lend yourself to a new world. You have a vision of how people may relate with each other, how you may open and play together and thus be healed. And so these things are important, and we honor you as central and important figures in the tribe of what we call Earth right now. So there we go.
That was cool.
So I think right now they're so nudging me so much. They're like, what are the questions that we can ask ourselves to bring ourselves into more wholeness, to help ourselves feel that essence within us? Are there some questions we can ask ourselves to help bring ourselves back into wholeness or invite it for ourselves?
The first thing that's coming to me right now is just, it seems kind of basic, but to just do this regularly, is ask yourself, what do I need right now? I found, like, when we were just even talking about the emotional stuff that goes on, whether you're having a panic attack or you're just really angry or feeling really anxious, and you feel like maybe you need another person to help self-soothe. I think it's a good self-soothing technique and question, is just to say, what do I need in this moment right now? And to check in with yourself, like regular check-ins. What do I need for feeling burned out from the day or the stresses of life or whatever the thing is? What do I need right now? And then give it to yourself. And that might mean a bath. That might mean a walk. That might mean you need something healthy to eat. Maybe you need to talk to a friend, but just learning how to check in with yourself and ask, what do you need? And then give it to you.
I love that. I mean, and as we ask that, we can go deeper and deeper within ourselves. We can check in and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, a part of me feels like I need this, and it might be a part of me that's kind of in the addictive sense or whatever. And we
Mm-hmm.
kind of slowly work, finding ways to deepen what we give ourselves. I think that that's a really good
Mm-hmm.
thing, because part of it too is, yes, we'll have those moments where, like, yeah, I get to bring myself into a space of neutrality where I can feel myself more. And sometimes that means drinking a hot cup of cocoa or something like that. But then
Yeah.
from that space, we can get even deeper in ourselves, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's, maybe you need to do a major life change. Who knows what your answers may be, but
Yeah.
I think just deepening that relationship with yourself by doing regular check-ins, and be open to what comes to you.
I think that's so great. I mean, I think that's a basic thing and a basic way we can show love to ourselves,
Hmm.
and a way we can honor ourselves. I've loved this conversation so much with you, Crystal. This has been so
Me
fun.
too.
And before we leave, though, I want you to just share some of the things you do and how people can find you. And I have a feeling we'll have some more conversations in the future.
I would love to. I feel like this can, like, go on forever. So. um, yeah, sorry. So you said what I do and where people can find me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't touch on much, but I do own a remodeling business. So that's just if you're in the Salt Lake Valley, in Utah. I do all types of remodeling. So I love the transformation space essentially. So, with the remodels, we do demo and rebuilds. But
That
my
makes sense.
real passion and soul calling is the coaching shamanic work that I do. So I do have a 3 month or 6 month one-on-one. I call that my VIP coaching program where, we go really deep into what it is that people are struggling with. And that's just like a really deep transformation. If that's something that people don't feel called to do, I also do individual shamanic healing sessions. I call those my intensives, and you can buy 1 pack or 3 pack, but those are really just a more intro way of working with me. I also do, if you're again in the Salt Lake Valley, in person, I do women's circle and wine groups. We started at the beginning of the summer, and those have been such a great success. I never thought I was going to lead women's circles, but it just came to me in May that I was supposed to start doing these, and they're a little bit edgy. We do have some wine there, but it's not a party. It's very, it's just very cool. A
Yeah.
cool group of people come, and it's a lot of fun.
I saw that, and I'm excited to join you one of these days because
You should come.
I'm nearby. So I love that.
Yeah, it's like some people are like hesitant about it. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But it's different and unique. I like to do things a little bit differently. But yeah, we have some yummy snacks and a little bit of wine. But we do a women's circle workshop or ceremony or whatever feels, feel called to do at the time. So that is something that's the most introductory offer that I have. And it's cool because basically there's a small ticket fee, but it just basically provides the workshop materials, the food and the drink. So we're not here to make a profit off it. Also, as a disclaimer too, we do have the invitation. If somebody can't afford a ticket, but they still feel called to come, we do have a few free slots every month that we offer to women who just feel like they need some community and sisterhood and a place to go. So yeah, if you can't afford a ticket, you're still welcome to come also.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And then you can find me on Instagram also, I guess where to find me is Instagram. I am at Crystal_Chadwick, or on Facebook, I'm Crystal Chadwick also.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll leave some connections and links in the summary and all of that below. And just thank you so much for being my guest. My guides in the garden, they are just encouraging. It's so funny. It's like I hear them and it's like these tinkling of bells, it's like they want to like put a little blessing upon you and the magic of your life and all you're doing and sharing with women and encouraging you to keep it magical.
I love that. Thank you so much. You know what? That was actually a big part of one of my soul retrieval pieces the last few years is reclaiming my magic. And actually that was one of the scariest pieces for me. I didn't want to tap into it and I could not figure out why, but that's been one of my favorite soul retrieval pieces is like reclaiming the magic that I am. So thank you for that. And thank you to your guides for that because
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
love
sometimes I need that reminder. So
that's so great. I love that. And I can see why that would be a little bit dark or hard. But thank you so
yeah.
much for joining me today. And all of you who are sitting here, please, if you feel called, check in with Crystal. And we just are here saying, be daring, stretch out and invite more of yourself in. And who knows what your life will explode to and be like, and the fun and the magic that's going to be there and found. So everyone, I wish you luck in your adventures, and we'll be seeing you soon. Click the link below to receive your very own free soul play meditation, reboot, or soul song. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Welcome to Channeling. Till the next episode, own your stage and play on. Hot Muffin Media.